Welcome again, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's session. Today is day 30, and we'll be putting into practice those things we've learned for the past few days. All right, so let's quickly go into our use case here. So, HR and workforce analytics and business teams need a single data set that, number one, report employee department tenure for each assignment, in other words, start date up to the end date or current date. Provide total tenure across all departments even when employees move between teams or multiple assignment histories. Present contextual metadata like employee ID, department name, group name, start date, end date, years difference, years per department, total years per all department for that particular employee. And we'll be supporting downstream scenarios like organizational design or mobility, where we track departmental movement patterns, internal mobility velocity, and tenure distribution across business unit, talent management, identify employees approaching promotion readiness, service awards or leadership pipelines based on cumulative organizational tenure, workforce planning, compliance and HR policy, employee life cycle insight. And also we have the business impact here. I won't go over that. And the action here is for you to deliver a certified employee department tenure data set using the following component and guarantees. And I won't go over everything, but feel free to go over that. But I'm just going to point you to what we actually need for our solution, okay? So the table we'll be looking at is this particular table, and I want you guys to pause the video, take a look at this table, and you tell me, right, what the table is, what slowly changing dimension is this particular table. All right, so pause it and check, and then come back to the video. However, we're going to continue from here. So now the green level is going to be one row per employee per department assignment. Guys, this is one key thing I want you guys to always have at the back of your mind. You need to always understand what the granular level of each of these objects you're dealing with. Now, for the semantics, we have the years per department. We talked about that. That means precise departmental tenure for each thing. In other words, an employee, how long did they stay in a particular department before they move to another department, if they move to another department, right? So we want to factor that into consideration. And also we want to know the total across all departments from all through up to today, how long have they stayed, right? And yeah, we also reference the end date, which we're saying that if end date is null, replace with current date. And one thing also I want to mention here is a year denominator, right? So the calendar year is usually, I know a lot of us know it as 365 days, but we've been given instruction here that it should be 365 days, 0.2425 days, and it follows the Gregorian calendar for accurate seniority calculations. And then we have the operationalization. I won't go over that. The quality checks, feel free to go over that. And the enrichment here, I want you guys to also challenge yourself even after we complete this last challenge for this particular series. Feel free to add more and then challenge yourself. But one of the things I like you guys to do is to just add the job title. Some of these you bring them in, try to calculate it yourself, see how you do, you see how best you can do that by yourself. All right, so for the purpose of this video, we won't do that. And the delivery, it's obviously this is a table we'll be going to deliver. We won't name it the table, but obviously in an operational level, you want to persist the table and then use it and then deliver it to the business that can then consume it. But we're going to have the query ready and then the data set. All right, and then here you have the companion dashboard. You're asked to build tenure distributions, cross department mobility flows, retention, hotspot, role, department tenure benchmarking chart, and ownership and SLAs, right? So these are things also you want to factor into consideration. Again, our focus is not to go over the end-to-end for each of the solution, but just to give you some context of what the business environment really look like. Okay, now we've provided some sample data here that you can always reference. Like I always mention in our videos, pause it, try by yourself, then come back and watch our solution. All right, now quick things to note here is that our table is going to be this, and then we just want to know the duration based on what we've been, the specification we've been given so far. All right, so let's go to our solution. Let's go to our lab and then solve this problem. Okay, so let's first of all, we already know the table we are looking at, so let's focus on that table. We go back to HR and believe this is the table. Let's drop it here. We're gonna say from. All right, so let's run that. Now, from looking at this table, can you guys tell me what slightly changing dimension type this is gonna be? Right. Some of you got it right. That is type 2. This is type 2. Once you see start date and end, they just know you're already dealing with type 2. Okay, so this is great. So now what we are asked to do is to pull certain attributes. We're gonna quickly pull those attributes quickly. Okay, let's quickly do that. Let's go back to see the attributes. So we need the employee table. So we're gonna first call this let's call this, for example, let's call it DH. Okay, and then let's pull in the employee ID, and so we're gonna pull the employee ID. Also, we're gonna pull the department ID. Okay, we need those two for sure. And then one thing also we can do is that we can connect it back using the department ID. We can connect it back to the department. Okay, but before we do all of that, let's run this, see what we get. And also we also want to put something. Let's pull the start date. Okay, and then we want to pull the end date. Okay, all right, so let's run all of that. Okay, all right, so the first thing we have to do is to find the duration, right? How long, does this particular employee spend in this department? Okay, and we are saying that if it's not, we're gonna have to replace that with the current date. Okay, how do we do that? Let's quickly run that. Okay, so we can basically say end date, all right, minus start date. Okay, and we're gonna say give us that as this is not gonna be days, but let's just say days difference per department. Okay, just pay attention, guys. Let's run that. Okay, you can see something is going on here. Every time we have null here, it's not calculating. Well, we have to deal with this one. Now quickly, from all that we've learned, you definitely know what to do here. You have to use coalescence, right? And then you say when that is null, replace with current date. Okay, my date will be different from the time you are running it, obviously, but just know that that's what you need to do. Okay, so let's run that. Beautiful, guys, beautiful. Now how do we convert these to years, right? Then we've already been told what to do. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna convert this guy. But one thing before we do that is that we can either cast, or I've showed this in the previous video. If you guys don't get this one, just make sure you go back to the video. You want to make sure it's numeric, right? What if after subtraction it didn't return integer for you, actually return text? Then you're gonna have problem if you have to try and divide. Okay, so now we're gonna divide here by 365.2425. okay, and then let's run that quickly. Beautiful. So this tells us the number of years, and we can see we have multiple decimal places. Let's reduce that to just 4 decimal places. So we're gonna say round, and then we're gonna put this in bracket, and then we're gonna put all this to 4 decimal places, close the bracket, and let's run that. Beautiful, guys. Now you can see, now right off the bat we can quickly tell the duration that we have here, right? And that's what we want, and this tells us per department. Okay, so basically this person spent in this particular department this number of years, 17 years based on today's day. Now let's quickly pull, so because department, we might not know the name of the department, why not let us put the actual name of the department so we can see things, and give some description to what we're actually dealing with right now. So with that, we're gonna do what we call the left outer join. You guys should be guru by now. We've done this couple of times, and we're gonna pull the department. Where are you, department? We're gonna pull department. We're gonna call this dev, and then we're gonna join dev. Okay, we're gonna join on department ID dot equals to dh dot department ID, right? And then we can pull, write it, add it right here, right? Dev dot, and then we're gonna take a look at what we have in the department. So we can pull, the name, okay, and then also we can pull the dev dot group name. I believe that's the two things that we need. Let's run that. Beautiful, beautiful. So we can see this person spent in executive, which is executive general administration, spent over 17 years up to today, right? And we can tell that this is great. But there is another thing we are asked to calculate. What if they spend, they're in multiple departments? Like for example, if you look at this employee number 4, you can see that they were in engineering for about 2.5 years, and they were also in tool design for about 15.71 to 8 years, right? So now what if we don't want to create, we can easily just create another maybe city and try to add both together, but we don't want to create any city. Okay, now we want to address it using our window function. How do we do that? Now the first thing is that we need to be able to, in this case, retrieve the minimum start date, and then for the end date we need to retrieve the maximum end date, which in most cases will be today's date. Let's quickly run that window function. Okay, so we have this. Let's start with the end date. We already know what our end date looks like, so I'm going to copy this guy. Okay, end date, maximum end date. Okay, all right, and then we're gonna say over, and then we're gonna say partition by, because we want it to be by the employee ID. Okay, we're gonna say by employee ID. Okay, group partition by employee ID, and then we're gonna say as max and dates. Okay, so let's run this. Let's see what we get. Beautiful, guys. You can see we're getting the day I created this video, because all of those that are null, they are returning exactly what we need, the current day. So you can see mostly it's going to be current day, which is great, which is what we want. Like say for example, yeah, the greatest day is still going to be 2026. That's the current date. Okay, now let's do the same thing for the minimum date. So let's do that quickly. Okay, let's do that quickly. Okay, so we're gonna say minimum date. All right, and then we're gonna call this mean start day. Okay, and then obviously we're gonna switch this just to end date. Start date, sorry. Start dates. Okay, and then we're gonna run that. So what happens is that you see the start date is gonna be this matching, but for 4, for example, what we want is the start date, and it's coming as expected. This is great, guys. This is going to be great. So now what we then need to do is then to subtract the maximum end date from the start date. Then that will give us a total duration for that particular individual or for that particular employee. So let's quickly do that. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna copy this. Okay, we already verify it's working quite well, and we're going to say minus, and then we're going to do minimum as well, and then we're going to alias it as total years. Okay, so now this is actually years. We have to change this because we divided the years, so we're going to now just copy this and say total underscore years, and then we're gonna see what we get. Beautiful. Let's see. Huh, okay. Something is not right here. Oh yeah, we need to divide it. Sorry about that. I know something wasn't right, so let's divide that. So we put all of this because it's showing us in this. I don't want it in this, so we again have numeric, and then we just divide. I'm just going to copy everything we have here. All right, because we're going to need it anyway, and then we're going to just round and put another bracket here, so everything should work fine. Beautiful, guys. So if you pay attention to 4 here, you can see now we have the addition of both of them, which is great. That's exactly what we want. And then we can comment this out because we actually don't need them, and then we can run all of that. Okay, now we can see quickly, we can be able to tell how long an individual work per department and how long they work across all departments. Okay, up to date, and this is fantastic, guys. This is really really great. And we're just gonna wrap up this one with saying order by one, which is actually what it's doing right now. All right, so this is exactly what I wanted to show you guys. You can see how we're accessing the slowly changing dimension type 2 and using the functions, the window functions within this particular table, and look at how smooth this solution is. So you can see this is really 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 fantastic. And that brings us to the end of our challenge. Wow, guys, huge congratulations on completing all 30 days of the challenge. You've shown commitment, consistency, and determination, qualities that truly set you apart. Take a moment to celebrate yourself. You absolutely deserve it. Treat yourself, give yourself a pat on the back, and acknowledge how far you have come. With everything you've learned, you are now equipped to tackle SQL and data challenges with confidence, absolutely confidence, okay? But don't stop here. Growth continues with practice. Revisit the lessons anytime, refresh your skills, and keep sharpening your expertise until these techniques become second nature to you. We also have exciting bonuses and additional holistic learning resources coming your way soon, so stay tuned. And if this program or this series has been valuable to you, we'd love to hear from you. Share your comments, leave a review on our Google page, tell others about your experience. And if you or your organization need personalized training, whether as an individual, group, or corporate team, we are thrilled to partner with you. Just reach out to us through our website. And thank you again for your dedication. We are proud of you. And we can't wait to see you continue to grow, and see you again soon.